Welcome back, Indiana Sports Beat Radio coming to you here on this Monday, and that means the great Don Fischer joins us from the Indiana Hoosiers. Don, how are you, sir?
I'm doing well, Jim. How about yourself?
Cannot complain. Coming off of a nice weekend for the Hoosiers, a win in the final installment of the Crossroads Classic over Notre Dame. Fun time there. Purdue handles Butler easily there. That gets put to bed. First of all, to see the Crossroads Classic go, it was kind of nice, but it kind of had reached its end, its crescendo, I think.
Bittersweet, I think, is how I play. Kind of introduced the game on Saturday, in the sense that the Crossroads Classic was coming to an end. A really good event for the fan base. I loved it for all four fan bases. There's no question that I think the fans really enjoyed it. But you're right. It comes to an end because primarily there's opportunities to play big time ball games to make a lot more money. We're talking about money every time you talk about making changes like this. So from that perspective, I understand it from the schools and how they think that type of thing. At the same time, I think from a fan's perspective, this was a really fun event that was had become kind of a staple, so to speak, for our fans, and now it's going away, which is it happens all the time these days. We used to have the Hoosier, the Big Four, the Big Four Bank Classic, whatever it was, over at the Hoosier Dome, which I thought was tremendous. The Louisville, Kentucky, Indiana, and Notre Dame every year. So it is what it is.
Yeah, to see that one was one I can't believe ever went away, but it did. Like you said, Indiana coming out of this one with a 64-56 win, a game in which they had to kind of come back. And normally they had been in the lead in a lot of these games and let them, the two that they've lost, let slip away. But this is the game where they had to kind of climb back into after letting Notre Dame get out a little bit.
Well, Mike said in our postgame show, we were horrible today on offense. He was not pleased with the offensive performance in any way, shape, or form. But the defense held them in there. They held Notre Dame, I think, to 33%, 36% shooting in the contest, 33% in the second half. Indiana got it going a little bit at the end of the first half. They were down 9 in the last 7 minutes and 17 seconds. They outscored Notre Dame 15-3 to take the 3-point lead at halftime. And from that point on, it was just kind of a back and forth battle, so to speak. Indiana looked like was in control at times. But Notre Dame bounced back, I think, after the little scuffle that they had when Trace Jackson Davis got taken to the floor and Parker Stewart came in and shoved a guy. Obviously, that was a negative there, and it kind of got Notre Dame fired up. They got back into it again, but it was, Indiana. You just never felt like Indiana was going to lose this game. At least I didn't feel that way. It was just a matter of making the plays. And, Mike was really upset. I did a little segment with him yesterday. He was not pleased with the fan base for booing Xavier Johnson, despite the fact that Xavier was awful from three-point land in that ball game. But he was not pleased with that. He does not like Indiana players getting booed by Indiana fans. And I don't blame him. I think it's wrong. I've only seen that happen maybe 2 other times in my 49 years of doing basketball games where the fan base booed a player. And unfortunately, it happened on Saturday. I understand why the fan base was upset. I mean, Xavier, I thought, was a little out of control with his shooting, taking too many 3-point shots. He's not a 3-point shooter. I mean, he's got a funny-looking shot anyway. He doesn't. He strokes it occasionally pretty well. In fact, going into the game, I think he was shooting over 45% or something like that from 3-point range. But it was because he wasn't taking a ton of them and wasn't forcing it. And unfortunately, on Saturday, I think that's kind of what was his problem. And therefore, the fan base got upset. But as Mike indicated, don't boo your own players. There's just no reason for that, unless the guy's being an idiot, out there on the floor.
Right. You know what? And as I think back, I know that Indiana got booed by their fans last year, but both times that happened in Indianapolis here of recent, I've noticed, not in a Simon Scott Assembly Hall. Does that come? So there, it's kind of a different crowd in both of those situations. A lot of times it's people that don't normally get to go to IU games, I think.
Well, that's probably true in some respect, but I think that what Mike was upset about it wasn't the fans were obviously booing Xavier Johnson shooting.
Right.
That was an obvious scenario. Last year, the team got booed because they were playing so horribly at the end of the season.
That was more probably towards Archie Miller.
That's exactly right. That's exactly. In fact, that chant was going on, if you remember, in that ball game. There was a chant going on, "Fire Archie" or something. I don't remember exactly what the chant was, but that was a very negative scenario as well. So we all know what happened after that. So that said, as Mike indicated, booing an individual player is just not the right thing to do.
Absolutely. And Xavier still ended up playing better as the game went on. I think toward the end of the game, he was really valuable. 11 points in that game. You had 4 players in double figures. Miller Kopp, the only one that the starter that did not get double figures, but Trace Jackson Davis, of course, again, another 17 and 12. He's just a double machine. And we're not talking about playing Elon here. It doesn't matter who it is. And Notre Dame really made a concerted effort to stop him. Not only was he doubled, I was watching, not only was he double teamed, if he even thought about going in a different direction, there was a third guy dropping off of his guy coming across. I saw it happen twice, and I'm like, damn, how's he getting a shot off?
Yeah,
they were really trying to stop him.
They were. There's no question about that. And I know Rob Finney has not been a fan favorite either with this basketball program over the years because of his struggles with his offensive performances. And I say that from a shooting perspective alone. I think Rob is actually a very good point guard in the sense of running the offense and doing what Mike wants him to do. But he's just not shot it with any kind of confidence. In this ball game, even though he didn't shoot it well as a whole, he hit 2 out of his 3 attempts from 3-point range, and one of them was about 4 minutes to go, was critical in this ball game. In fact, we thought it was the difference maker in the contest. Eric, we have a little segment at the end of our broadcast. It's the HFI deciding play of the game, so to speak, and we thought that was appropriate for that particular segment. So at any rate, I thought Finney did a nice job there. I'd love to see this guy get his confidence back with his shooting touch because I just think he's so valuable in so many other ways for this ball club, especially on defense. You love to have him on the floor defensively for 40 minutes of the contest if that was feasible.
Yeah, he plays good defense. He doesn't complain. He gives you valuable minutes. He's out there working hard, it seems, all the time, handles the ball well, doesn't turn the ball over. He's just a valuable member to have out there. He's certainly someone valuable to have coming off the bench. That's for certain.
Well, he had 5 assists in the ball game against 2 turnovers in the contest. I just thought he did a great job. It might have been his best ball game so far this season in regard to just being the steady influence that he can become out there. So I'm pleased with what I see from Rob, and I hope he can just get that shooting confidence back because I think he's got a great looking stroke. It just doesn't go down a lot.
They did not have Tamar Bates, who had a death in the family, and he was off tending to that. So that probably had some play into that, not having him coming in off the bench. But it was good to see Indiana play without him. So now you know that they can get that done and add that piece back in there.
Well, it's interesting. Anthony Leal got more playing time in this game than he's had in a while and didn't do much with it. I mean, he worked his tail off defensively, but didn't shoot the basketball. Did he even have a shot? I guess he had 1 shot in the ball game, and that was it. And he's a guy that can knock down some shots. Here's my biggest issue right now with Indiana's offense is they do not get enough shots for Parker Stewart. Parker Stewart is the best shooter on this basketball team. He was 3 for 4 on Saturday from 3-point range. In fact, all of his shots were from the 3-point line other than his free throws. The guy can flat shoot the basketball, find a way to get the ball in his hands for shots. And I don't think we look that's the offense is not set up to do it that way right now. And I think Mike and the coaching staff have to find a way to get the ball in this guy's hands for more shots, because he is flat a really outstanding shooter.
Yeah, the one thing that I think, one of the things I think people have I don't want to say issue, but Xavier Johnson, he ends up taking 11 shots in the game, where Parker Stewart is getting 4 shots in a game.
Right.
And that is what I know a lot of people are. Now, sometimes some of those shots of Xavier's are trying to get to the rim, and he's going to have a couple more because of that. But it just seems like he has way too many 3-point opportunities when Parker Stewart is not getting those opportunities.
Right.
And I don't know if that's completely – some of that's on Parker, I think. Maybe he needs to work a little harder to get open, and then the team needs to work harder to get him set up.
Yeah, I mean, Charlie, you're probably better at analyzing that aspect of it. But here's what I always go back to: the Bob Knight era with Steve Alford, who ran around the court like a madman until he got the basketball in his hands to get a shot, and we were setting picks and screens for that guy every second that he was on the floor, because he was Indiana's best shooter. And we just don't see that with the offenses the way they're played today.
Well, you said it best. It's not designed right now for that, right? So I think with he's efficient, right? I mean, he's not effective. He's efficient. He doesn't need. He's not a volume shooter, right? So that's a promise. If you get this guy if you get him 9-10 shots a game, what can that be? So now you may have to incorporate that, because now film's going to tell that story too. Right. Once they go to the movies, I call it, they watch film, they're going to see he's a very efficient player. They're going to find ways now, I think, to put him, in my case, you got to put him on Tracer's side. See, now you can't double. That double has to come from the weak side. It can't come from the point guard side. It can't come from the wing side. That's where you really start to really impact your offense and start exploding scoring-wise. That's me. That's what I would do, but you guys are spot on.
How much more does Parker have to work, Charlie, to get his shots? Because it doesn't seem like he's working terribly hard to get a shot.
I mean, okay, all right. But only time I would say every time I say, Don, bad analogy. I can't go Parker Stewart to Steve Alford, because I mean, it was no offense other than you just knew your role.
To get
you knew your boundaries. Right. You knew who to set screens for. I mean, okay, so in this case, it's a lot of dribble handoffs, a lot of motion, a lot of not a knock against them, a lot of really non-screen, not like hard set screens, more so go through the motion cutting until they get a dribble drive opportunity to really attack. And I think that's what happens with Xavier a lot. He's going downhill. I think he's looking to pass. I'm at the rim, I got to shoot it. Right, or I'm wide open, I got to shoot it. Versus Parker Stewart kind of working that way, right? You know, working, coming off that, setting the screen, then looking for his opportunity. I don't think that's their flow right now. That's just my take.
Right. Well, and again, I mean, trust me, I understand that Indiana's offense is not set up to play like Steve Alford's lineup. You know what I'm saying?
I'm joking, you know.
I know, but it is a bad analogy. But the truth of the matter is, you just want to see them work him into that offense more to get him more opportunities, because he is. I haven't seen a player like him at Indiana in a long time. I mean, he is flat out a guy that can catch it and shoot it and knock it down. I mean, Jordan Halls might be the last guy that you could look at Indiana that was like that. I mean, you just knew that had a chance of going in every time he released it.
Yeah, I mean, to me,
too.
Yeah, I was gonna say, man, that's the coach's son, right? God bless his dad. But I mean, you can tell he's a very efficient shooter. So you got to find a way to get him more looks and more takes, and I think that can really cause a stir once you get to the nitty gritty part of your Big Ten play.
Right, no question.
Don, now Indiana has a couple more non-con games coming up right in front of and behind Christmas before they start Big Ten play right after New Year's on January 2nd. So they get to finish up with Northern Kentucky and UNC Asheville, work on some things this next week or so.
Yeah, Northern Kentucky comes in. They're coached by Darren Horn. I met him. He is a friend of Tom Crean's. He came up to practices. I got to sit with him. He wasn't coaching at the time. In fact, I think he was looking for a coaching job with Coach Crean when he came up. At any rate, long story short, he is a guy that's been around the block. He is a good coach. I don't think his team is. They start very small. They're a really small team to start out with. They've got guys on the bench that are bigger, and I don't know how much they utilize them. It doesn't look like they play a lot of minutes. So I think they play small most of the time. But they're a solid ball club. They gave Eastern Michigan, a team that gave Indiana problems. They lost to them by a single point. They played a tough schedule. They're in the Horizon League, so we know that they're playing for money. They're doing that a lot of the time. It'll be an interesting matchup. And then North Carolina, Asheville, I think they're 7-5 right now and probably got a win on their schedule coming up based on what I saw on their schedule. They'll probably be 8-5 coming into Indiana. So two non-conference ball games. It's tune-up time for your basketball team in regard to getting ready for Big Ten play, which starts on January 2nd at Penn State.
Yeah, get right time, Charlie, is before the conference play starts.
Yeah. I mean, again, and you know what? Now you might explore Parker Stewart situation. Hopefully, they're listening to us, right, and getting some tips on probably some adjustments. Two, you get players playing. You get players minutes who rarely get minutes, so to see how they can probably flow in your rotation, because your rotation is probably going to tighten up a little bit coming up very soon, where you're going to probably play about an 8-9 man rotation. In the 8th, 9 man, you hope that they give you valuable minutes where they come from, sparks off the bench. So yeah, I mean, so hey, look, also you're going to potentially, not trying to skip ahead, but you're also going into your Big Ten play, even though you've already played one Big Ten game, but one loss. I mean, that's pretty. I don't know, for the psyche, that's pretty amazing because we only lost one, right? I want to make sure I'm right.
Two.
Right, Syracuse and
Wisconsin.
We lost two. That's pretty. I mean, that's pretty. That's for the psyche as a player. That's pretty amazing going into your Big Ten season.
Right.
Yep, Don, I know you got to get going. I cannot thank you enough as always. One thing I was going to say last is you mentioned players and minutes, Charlie. Don't ask Coach Woodson about Christian Lander. It's like, I don't know, people have gotten on this kick about asking about him nonstop, and it's starting to get under his skin, I think.
Well, you know what? Christian, I interviewed him for our pregame show on Saturday. I thought this is not going to be a good interview. He's not been playing a lot of minutes, that kind of thing. I'm thinking he's going to be down. He's going to be dour. He was great. I mean, he was actually saying, I really like playing for the guy. He says he's really smart. He knows what he's talking about. He's trying to teach me. I'm learning, all that kind of stuff. He said all the right things, let's put it that way, and he had a very good attitude about it. So whatever the issue is right now, and I think I know what it is, I think it's when the basketball is not in your hands and the other team has it. I think that's the problem. He's got to get better defensively if he wants to play in this basketball team.
And I'm sure he will. Don Fischer, I cannot thank you enough, man, as always.
Hey, thanks for having me, guys. Hey, Merry Christmas to you guys.
Hey, Merry Christmas.
Yes, that's right. Merry Christmas. Merry Christmas to you, your wife, your entire family. Thank you so much, Don. The great Don Fischer joining us here on Indiana Sports Beat. We're back with more right after this.